I'm a female bandit who picked up a husband at the foot of the mountain. He's not only drop-dead gorgeous, but absolutely ferocious in bed. We're either going at it, or on our way to going at it. Then the imperial court sent troops to stamp out bandits, laying siege to the mountain. Unwilling to drag him into this mess, I snuck him down the mountain in the dead of night. But I never expected, on the night the troops and bandits faced off, the enemy commander grabbed my waist, his eyes bloodshot, and growls, "We didn't finish last night. Wanna pick up where we left off?" My dad's the Mountain Lord, a legendary big shot in the bandit world. As his only daughter, I get whatever I want, living a life of reckless freedom. Lately, I've had a maiden's crush on Lin Mo, the second young master of the county magistrate's family. I mustered up the courage to confess my feelings, only to be met with his disdainful sneer. "You, a crude, savage female bandit, daring to covet this young master. Pure delusion." Hell, my short fuse blew on the spot. I unleashed a flurry of punches, turning his face into a swollen pig's head right then and there. Before I left, I threw down a harsh warning. "You just wait. This girl's gonna find a man 100 times handsomer than you, and make you regret every single thing." I'd talked a big game, but on the way back to the mountain, I fell into a funk. The only reason I'd had a crush on Lin Mo was that he was the handsomest man in the whole Qingshui County. Finding someone a bit handsomer might be possible if I headed to the provincial capital, but 100 times handsomer, that was harder than climbing to the heavens. Heaven above, I've been starved for 18 years, just send me a pretty man. I closed my eyes and prayed devoutly. When I opened them again, not far ahead, a breathtakingly handsome man was stumbling toward me, his outer robe soaked in blood, a group of black-cloaked men chasing him down, even haggard as he was. His delicate features and sharp jawline couldn't hide his striking handsomeness. My eyes lit up in an instant, and I slapped my thigh in excitement. "Look at that, the pretty man's here." 02. I bolted toward the pretty man at full speed, yelling as I ran, "Young master, don't be afraid, this girl's here to save you." At the sight of me, the pretty man's brows furrowed sharply. He summoned all his strength and shouted at me, "Danger, don't come near." Clearly, he had no idea just how powerful the little princess of Black Ox Stronghold was. I'd grown up following my dad to seize mountain strongholds, honing my martial arts skills to perfection. In all my years, I'd never feared anyone. I swung my broadsword and charged at the black-cloaked men like a gust of wind, slitting their throats one by one with a flurry of clanging steel. The pretty man finally let out a sigh of relief and collapsed weakly into my arms. I slung the pretty man over my shoulder and carried him back to the stronghold. My dad said he was fine, just some superficial wounds, a little bandaging and a few days of bitter medicine, and he'd be good as new, but I still couldn't help worrying. Is his that place unharmed? At my lewd expression, my dad froze for a second, then bolted outside like a madman and shouted excitedly, "Wife, our cabbage has finally lured a pig." Really, was that even a human thing to say? 03. I drooled over the pretty man non-stop for as long as he was unconscious. Don't blame me for being a love-struck fool, he was just too damn good-looking. Pale, smooth skin, ink-black hair like silk, slanted willow brows, a straight, high nose. I'd heard the brothers say, the bigger a man's nose, the better he is in that department. His nose was a little bigger than all the brothers in the strongholds, so he must be really good, right? To test my theory, I decided to reach out and touch it for myself. But before my hand could even brush his belt, his eyes fluttered open. The pretty man glanced around, looking a little dazed, but quickly composed himself and sat up slowly. "I'm Xiao Chen. Thank you for saving my life. Young lady, I can never repay your great kindness, but I promise to repay me with your body." "Just your body is enough," I blurted out excitedly. His face flushed bright red in an instant. What did you say?" "I said repay me with your body, husband," I said, grinning as I took his hand and stroked it back and forth. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Since I picked you up, you're my husband, Song Xiaowan's man. From now on, you'll eat and drink your fill with me. No need to lift a finger for work. You just have to. My gaze drifted slowly downward, settling on his waist and abdomen, and I smiled shyly. You just have to take good care of me. That's all. Impossible. Xiao Chen yanked his hand free in a fit of anger, pulling his wound in the process and gasping in pain. I thought you saved me out of kindness, taking you for a good girl. I never thought you'd be so brazen, so shameless. I blinked. So you're saying no? Xiao Chen's face was on fire. Of course I'm saying no. Fine. I lifted my broadsword and pressed the blade to his neck with a sharp click. Yesterday, I saved what was supposed to be my husband. If you're not him, there's no need to save you anymore. With that, I raised the broadsword suddenly, cold killing intent in my eyes, and swung it straight at his neck. Damn it. He didn't move an inch. 04. I pulled the sword back and sneered at Xiao Chen. Don't think I have no way to deal with you just because you're not afraid of death. I'm not some delicate young lady from a wealthy family. I've got plenty of strength and tricks to make you obey. Xiao Chen's mouth twitched violently. He shot me a look like I was an idiot, then lay back down on the bed and rolled over, ignoring me completely. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to fall asleep. That bastard Xiao Chen. Not only did he refuse me, but he also looked down on me. Was that any way to treat your savior? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got, and I decided to do something to get my revenge. Under the cover of night, I snuck back to Xiao Chen's room, planning to take advantage of his sleep and cross the line, turn raw rice into cooked rice. But as soon as I pushed the door open, I heard the sound of water splashing behind the screen. He was bathing. My heart filled with joy. I tiptoed around the screen, my eyes wide open, ready for this visual feast. But Xiao Chen's ears were sharper than a dog's. Before I could get close, he heard my footsteps and shouted sharply, "Who's there?" He stood up suddenly, his bare, snow-white body breaking through the water's surface, sending a huge splash flying that blocked my view completely. By the time I wiped the water off my face, Xiao Chen had already put on his robe and stood in front of me. He frowned, looking furious. Sneaking into a man's room in the middle of the night. Song Xiaowan. Do you even know how to spell the word shame? I shook my head earnestly. Nope, I don't. I'd been spoiled rotten since I was a kid. When I was 5, I threw a tantrum to my parents, saying I didn't want to go to school, and they never mentioned it again. So yeah, I really couldn't write a single character. I wasn't lying at all. But Xiao Chen only got angrier when he heard it. You. Simply unreasonable. He flung his sleeve hard and turned to walk into the inner room. Of course, I wasn't about to let him go. In a panic, I reached out to grab his arm. But my hand missed. I didn't catch his arm. Instead, I tore off his sash. His robe flew open with a snap. What met my eyes was a firm chest, a sleek waistline, and, in short, I saw everything I was supposed to see, and everything I wasn't. Song, Exio, 1. Xiao Chen ground his teeth in rage. But I just stood there, my face bright red, dumbfounded. No one had ever told me that thing looked so terrifying. I just remembered I have something to do. I'll come back to see you another day. I stumbled backward and fled in a panic. Behind me, the man froze for a long time, then suddenly laughed in exasperation. I thought you were bold as brass. Turns out you're just a little coward. 05. The next day, Xiao Chen leaned lazily against my door, his arms crossed over his chest. What's for breakfast? I'm starving. I jumped in surprise. I'd thought after what happened yesterday, he'd be so angry he'd run away in the middle of the night. But not only had he stayed, his attitude had softened a lot too. Looks like he'd come to his senses. And it was only natural. He was being hunted all over the place. He must have offended some big shot. Without the protection of Black Ox Stronghold, he'd definitely be caught and chopped into mincemeat, since he was willing to compromise. I had no reason to refuse him anymore. I looped my arm through his and dragged him off to breakfast. At the table, he ate with elegant, gentle manners. My parents took an instant liking to him. Piling his bowl high with food and completely forgetting their own daughter existed. Well, not completely, they still remembered me for one thing. When, how can you let him wear the rough cloth clothes from the stronghold, his old robes torn to shreds? Take him to the city to make a few new ones, and while you're at it, stop by delicious confectionery and buy him some lotus cakes. I rolled my eyes and stuck my lower lip out in a pout. Xiao Chen shot me a triumphant look from the corner of his eye. The streets were bustling with people. Xiao Chen wore the expensive brocade robe I'd splurged on, ate the candied hawthorn I'd waited in a long line to buy, and strode ahead of me. I trotted after him, a bag of pastries in my hand, unable to keep up, and he even had the nerve to hurry me along. Short legs, hurry up, ever since my parents spoke those words half a month ago. Xiao Chen had acted like he'd been given an imperial edict. Every day, he made me accompany him shopping, watch operas, buy trinkets, spending my money left and right, and ordering me around like a servant. I think he'd forgotten who was the boss here. Hey, I'm your savior, and I've been feeding and clothing you for weeks. How dare you talk to me like that? I planted my hands on my hips and shouted at him. Xiao Chen stopped in his tracks and turned around. Then how should I talk to you? His face was already as beautiful as jade, and with the fancy robe on, he looked even more like a celestial being descended to earth, impossible to look away from. My eyes glazed over, my throat went dry, and after a long while, I stammered, naturally you have to be extremely respectful. Xiao Chen suddenly let out a low laugh and stepped toward me, backing me up against a wall, then leaning down slightly. Anything else? My heart raced so fast I could barely breathe. Thudding so hard it felt like it was about to jump out of my mouth. Also, I should walk in front. Xiao Chen's smile widened. Is that all? I thought you'd want to. He didn't finish the sentence. He just stared at my lips with burning eyes and slowly leaned in. 06. I closed my eyes in fright. But the expected kiss never came. Only a low, muffled laugh echoed in my ear. Song Xiaowan, what did you think I was going to do? I snapped my eyes open, my cheeks burning like fire. Xiao Chen, you bastard. Furious, I slammed my fist into his shoulder and stormed off. The laughter behind me grew even more unrestrained. Humiliated and enraged, I quickened my pace only for dozens of burly men to surge out from the alley mouth, blades in hand, surrounding me on all sides. Lin Mo stood among them, his head wrapped in bandages, his face oozing arrogance. He tilted his head and raised his brows. Female bandit, finally found you. Last time you beat me half to death. I was humiliated to no end. Now that you're in my hands, you won't leave here in one piece. With that, he waved his hand, signaling the men to attack. My gaze turned cold, and I tightened my grip on my sword hilt, until a large hand suddenly pressed down on my wrist. Xiao Chen stepped forward a few paces, shielding me behind him. Is it fitting for a man to bully a young woman? A young woman? Lin Mo burst into raucous laughter. She's no ordinary young woman, she's a bona fide female bandit. With a face thicker than city walls. The other day she confessed to me in the street, and when I refused, she beat me so badly I couldn't get out of bed for days. Brother, I advise you to stay far away from her. If she latches onto you, you'll be in a world of trouble. At the word confessed, Xiao Chen's brows furrowed sharply as he looked at me. I averted my gaze guiltily, staring at the sky, then the ground, anything but his eyes. Xiao Chen instantly understood. He shook his head and sighed deeply, speaking calmly. Last time, Wan and I had a little quarrel. In a fit of pique, she pretended to confess to you just to make me jealous. I never thought you'd actually believe it. Pretended, Lin Mo seethed. How dare you make a fool of me? So what if we did? Xiao Chen shot him a cold glance and let out a snort. If Wan hadn't been mad at me, Do you think she'd even glance at someone as plain and mediocre as you? You've gone too far. It was the first time Lin Mo had ever been so humiliated. He hopped madly with rage, snatching a blade from one of the men and slashing it at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, watch out! I drew my long sword with a sharp clang and stepped forward to block the blow, but Xiao Chen darted out of the way in an instant, grabbing Lin Mo's arm. As a local magistrate, your father allows his son to bully the common people. I doubt he wants his official post any longer, does he? His voice was soft. Yet for some reason, Lin Mo trembled violently and crumpled to his knees, his legs giving way. Seeing this, the burly men swarmed forward with their blades, only to be stopped by Lin Mo's tearful shriek, "Don't come near." I stared in confusion. What's wrong with him? Xiao Chen flung Lin Mo's hand away and said indifferently, "Perhaps he's realized he's in the wrong and repented on the spot. Ignore him." With that, he took my hand and led me away in a hurry. 07. Xiao Chen seemed upset. Back at the stronghold, he locked himself in his room and refused to come out all day. I brought him pastries, trying to strike up a conversation to cheer him up. "You were so awesome today. You put Lin Mo in his place with just a few words. Say, does he have some kind of hold over you? You don't even know martial arts. What on earth did you do to make him so scared of you?" I was being genuine, trying to coax him, but he only seemed angrier. He suddenly stood up, strode over, and gripped my shoulders tightly. "Lin Mo this, Lin Mo that. Are you that obsessed with that fool? If you're so fond of him, why did you come teasing me? You called me husband, you saw my body, and now you're being so fickle. It's unforgivable." I was stunned, stammering a defense. "I didn't." But Xiao Chen wouldn't listen. "Didn't what?" "Didn't call me husband, or didn't see my body." He pressed me relentlessly, giving me no chance to speak. I was at my wit's end, so I stood on tiptoe and lifted my head. More tilde. I pressed my lips to his. Turns out, this trick worked like a charm. Xiao Chen froze on the spot. I asked him, "Calm down now." "Not yet." Xiao Chen suddenly pulled me into his arms, his breathing growing heavy. "I need another kiss, a longer one." With that, he lowered his head and kissed me back. He kissed me fiercely, his lips moving hungrily against mine, prying my mouth open, his tongue tangling with mine. My legs went weak, my mind growing fuzzy with desire. After what felt like an eternity, he pulled away, his eyes dark as he looked down at me. The corners of his eyes flushed red. "Song Xiaowan, tell me, am I your husband?" I panted, gasping out a reply. "Of course you are." He looked wounded. "But we haven't married. How can that count?" I thought he had a point. He'd been at the stronghold for so long, with no official status. No wonder he'd been overthinking things. Fine then, if he wanted it, I'd give it to him. I hauled him into my arms, pouncing on him like a hungry wolf and pinning him to the bed. Rip, I tore his robe open. "Let's get married right now." I didn't mean that. Xiao Chen was terrified, struggling to break free, but I would not be denied. I pinned his hands firmly above his head, lowering my head to kiss every inch of his body. Soon, his breathing grew ragged. His face flushed bright red. "Song Xiaowan, you asked for this." His voice was hoarse with desire. He rolled over in an instant, pinning me beneath him. "This time, whoever runs is a dog." 08. I didn't want to be a dog, so I didn't run, and it turned out I'd made the right choice. Xiao Chen wasn't just good-looking, he was incredibly skilled. We tangled together half the night. At first, I cried out in pain, but later, he coaxed me into a daze, making me feel like I was floating on a cloud. Xiao Chen bit my earlobe, his voice low and husky. "Like that?" I mumbled deliriously. Like it so much more." He chuckled. "Little tease. They say a man who's tasted pleasure is insatiable, and Xiao Chen was no exception." He held my waist tightly, taking me again and again and again. The next day, he moved into my room without a second thought. We were inseparable every day after that, either wrapped up in each other's arms, or on our way to being there, one day. He held me in his arms, watching as I traced circles on his chest with my finger. He suddenly asked, "When, you don't even know where I'm from, yet you dared to lure me into bed. Aren't you afraid you'll regret it one day?" I shook my head. What's there to be afraid of? Black Ox Stronghold has over 1,000 brothers. Even if you did offend some big shot, I can protect you. If anything, you should be the one worried. I took your innocence for no reason. Aren't you afraid I'll abandon you after getting what I want? Xiao Chen fought back a smile, thinking it over seriously. A little bit, I knew it. I lifted my head and kissed his cheek. Don't be scared. Song Xiaoan, am not the kind of person who shirks responsibility. I've told my parents to start preparing for our wedding. In a few days, I'll marry you properly, as my husband. Xiao Chen was overwhelmed with emotion, pulling me into another passionate round of lovemaking in his joy. He even said that when he made it big one day, he'd make me the wealthiest lady in the entire Great Liang dynasty. I smiled and said nothing. Men loved to boast. After all, if he liked it, why should I burst his bubble? 09. Our wedding was fast approaching. My parents decked the stronghold out in festive red decorations. The brothers began slaughtering pigs and sheep to prepare for the wedding feast. The little kids in the stronghold ran around, clamoring for wedding candies. Everyone was over the moon, everyone except Xiao Chen, who ground his teeth as he stared at the phoenix crown and red wedding robe I'd custom-made for him. Song, XAO, 1. What man wears women's clothes for his wedding? I laughed and coaxed him. It's okay, it's okay. You only have to wear it for a little while. Once we bow to the heavens and earth, I'll just take it off you anyway, right? With that, I licked my lips and shot him a lewd look. Xiao Chen's eyes darkened with desire. He swept me up in his arms and rolled us onto the bed. I'll agree to wear the dress, but I have one condition. From now on, I decide the position, and how long we go. Everything is up to me. Ha ha ha, no way. I pushed at him. Yet let him do as he pleased. The bed curtains swayed, the room filled with sweet intimacy. In the heat of the moment, a brother suddenly banged on the door, his voice urgent. "Young master, it's bad. Hundreds of government soldiers have come to the foot of the mountain. They look like they're going to attack." 10. I sat up with a jolt. Government soldiers. Black Ox Stronghold had always only fought other bandits, never crossing paths with the imperial court. Why would soldiers be laying siege to us? Could it be Lin Mo? He was the only person I'd ever offended. His father was the county magistrate. His rank wasn't high, but he held some military power. It wasn't impossible that he'd found an excuse to come after the stronghold to avenge his son. No, Xiao Chen pulled me back into his arms, pressing soft kisses to my neck. The day after we met Lin Mo, Magistrate Lin was found guilty of embezzlement, dereliction of duty, and lining his own pockets. He was stripped of his official post and exiled on the spot. I stared at him in shock. How do you know that? Xiao Chen had been at the stronghold every single day these past few weeks. If I didn't know about it, where had he heard the news? The brothers told me, that's all. Xiao Chen seemed unwilling to explain further. In any case, those soldiers are nothing to fear. My sweet Wan, let's continue. I haven't even. The brother outside the door grew even more panicked. It's not just a few soldiers. Young master, at least 3,000 imperial troops are here, and 1,000 cavalry are leading the charge. They all hold long spears, and they've surrounded the entire mountain. They'll be at the stronghold in no time. This serious. Whoever's coming must have a lot of power. I pushed Xiao Chen away and began pulling on my clothes in a hurry. What are you panicking about? Xiao Chen sat up, wrapping his arms around me from behind. With me here, even 10,000 iron cavalry wouldn't dare lay a finger on you or your men. I rolled my eyes. This is no time for your boasting. Listen to me. I grew up in Black Ox Stronghold, and I swear to live and die with it. But you're different. We've only slept together a few times. We're not really husband and wife. You don't have to die with me. I'll send you down the mountain right now. If I survive, I'll definitely come find you. If I don't, then find someone better to spend your life with. I thought Xiao Chen would be moved to tears by my selflessness, but instead, his face darkened in an instant. Song Xiaoan, what do you mean only slept together a few times? What do you mean not really husband and wife? Is this really the time for this? Put your clothes on first. No, you have to make this clear right now. Xiao Ichen gripped my wrist tightly, refusing to let go no matter what. Shouts erupted from outside the door. Young master, the soldiers have started climbing the mountain. If we don't leave now, it'll be too late. Panic surged through me. Xiao Chen, just be obedient and put on your clothes. Okay, if you don't explain this clearly, don't even think about making me get dressed. What did you say? I said I won't. Before Xiao Chen could finish his sentence, I gritted my teeth and made up my mind, delivering a sharp chop to the back of his neck with the side of my hand. I grabbed a quilt and wrapped it around him haphazardly, then slung him over my shoulder and rushed out the door in a frenzy. 11. Outside the stronghold, banners blotted out the moon, and the army stretched as far as the eye could see, a vast sea of black. A murderous aura hung thick in the air, making the leaves rustle violently. In the courtyard, the brothers sharpened their blades, gearing up for a fight to the death. I carried Xiao Chen past the army and over the steep cliffs. Taking a narrow path to a large tree at the foot of the mountain, the thought that I might never see him again filled my heart with bitterness. More tilde. I planted several kisses on his lips. Xiao Chen, don't blame me, okay? I only left you here because I couldn't bear to see you die, not because I don't want you anymore. Do you think we'll ever meet again? If I die, promise you won't forget me, will you? Wah! Grief overwhelmed me, and I burst into tears, accidentally attracting several government soldiers. Captain, it sounds like a ghost is crying nearby. It's so creepy. Wait, was he being serious? I wanted to go out and give him a piece of my mind, but I hesitated, fearing I'd get Xiao Chen into trouble. Another voice rang out, bullshit. There's no such thing as ghosts or spirits. Stop scaring yourselves. Our top priority is to go up the mountain and finish our mission. Hurry up, don't drag your feet. It seemed their target really was Black Ox Stronghold. I had to rush back to help. I carried Xiao Chen 2 miles away and left him in a hidden cave, then reluctantly returned to the stronghold. When my dad saw me coming back, he was so angry his beard stood on end. I told you to take my good son-in-law down the mountain. What are you doing back here? You're just making trouble. I drew my long sword with a sharp clang. The brothers call me their young master, now that the stronghold is in danger. How could I abandon them and run away? Dad, I'm not afraid. If they dare to attack, I'll beat them all to a pulp. Dad stared at me in shock for a moment, then roared with laughter. Good, you're definitely my son, Song Jiang. We'll fight side by side, father and daughter, together we'll crush them. 12. We ate our fill, sharpened our blades, and got ready to take down the enemy. But to our surprise, the army suddenly retreated. Dad told me not to act rashly. Their erratic behavior was suspicious. They might just be pretending to withdraw, waiting for us to let our guard down before launching another attack. I thought he was right, so I ordered the brothers to rest in shifts to save their strength. Sure enough, at noon the next day, the government soldiers swarmed up the mountain again, surrounding the stronghold completely. This time, there were even more of them, and their attack was fiercer than before. I heard that to boost morale, their commander-in-chief had personally come to the front lines to take charge. Rage flared in my chest. Who cares if he's a commander or a deputy? Today, I'll beat him into the dirt. Brothers, charge with me. With that, I grabbed my broadsword and led the men charging forward in a mighty wave. When I reached the front lines, I saw Dad staring blankly at the enemy, frowning as he stroked his beard, looking left and right like he was extremely confused. Wan, doesn't that man leading the enemy look familiar? He looks so familiar. I narrowed my eyes and stared, and there he was, dressed in a black robe, sitting proudly on a tall horse, cold, noble, and breathtakingly handsome. It was none other than my fragile, helpless husband, Xiao Chen. What are you doing here? This isn't a place for you, come with me at once. I rushed forward, trying to pull him down from the horse, but his adjutant suddenly blocked my path with his long spear, stopping me in my tracks. How dare you, bandit, show respect to His Highness the Ninth Prince. I froze completely. Ninth Prince. Xiao Chen looked down at me coldly and nodded indifferently. He'd been pestered endlessly by court affairs, so he decided to fake an assassination attempt and go into hiding to find some peace and quiet. When we first met, he'd been in the middle of carrying out his plan, but I'd burst in out of nowhere and saved him, with nowhere else to go. He'd pretended to faint and followed me back to the stronghold. That day on the street, Lin Mo hadn't knelt down because he felt remorse. He'd been pinned down by Xiao Chen's internal energy and had no choice but to submit. Even Lin Mo's father had been investigated and arrested on Xiao Chen's orders. Sent via carrier pigeon, he'd used his imperial prince privileges, which had exposed his location, and the imperial soldiers had tracked him down. Wan, I never meant to hide the truth from you. I've told you everything now, can you stop being angry? I forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Depends on how you make it up to me. Yes, I will. Xiao Chen looked overjoyed. First, he went to find my parents and apologized sincerely. Then he waited on me hand and foot, pouring me tea, fetching me water, rubbing my back, and massaging my shoulders. Finally, he grandly ordered his thousands of soldiers to take care of all the chores around the mountain. Turning over the vegetable plots, trimming the flowers and plants, repairing the roof, building pig pens. They did it all, even cleaning the latrines and night buckets until they were spotless. That night, after taking a bath, he sidled up to me with a playful grin. I held out a finger and pressed it against his forehead. Did I say you could get in bed with me? Wan. He looked wronged, his eyes red-rimmed. We only got halfway through last night before you knocked me out. I'm so pitiful. I raised an eyebrow. So you have to make it up to me double. He grinned mischievously. Let's finish what we started. Okay, no, but this morning you clearly said you were going to beat them all to a pulp. Xao, yi, Chen, 15. In the end, I couldn't escape Xiao Chen's clutches. After all, I loved being intimate with him too, but there was another reason. Xiao Chen had to return to the capital the next day. News that the crown prince had tried to assassinate Xiao Chen, leaving him missing and presumed dead, had somehow reached the emperor's ears. The emperor had been furious, ordering 3 of the crown prince's closest confidants to be flogged to death in court and confining the crown prince to the Eastern Palace. That night, the emperor had suddenly fallen seriously ill and lapsed into a coma. Naturally, the crown prince had taken over the reins of state. Xiao Chen thought the timing was too coincidental. It must be the crown prince's plot. He decided to return to the capital immediately to uncover the truth. I wanted to go back with him, not only to protect him, but also to be intimate with him at night. But he said the capital was too dangerous and wouldn't let me come. He held me in his arms and comforted me for a long time, promising he'd come back to pick me up as soon as he'd finished his business. I couldn't argue with him, so I reluctantly agreed. I thought I'd have to endure a long period of celibacy. But less than half a month later, Xiao Chen's adjutant arrived. Overjoyed, I packed my bags and followed him back to the capital. He put me up in a large mansion, feasting me with delicious food and drinks, even hiring an opera troupe to perform for me. But who wanted to watch operas? I wanted to see Xiao Chen. I wanted to see his pecs, his abs, his long legs. I wanted to play horsey with him. I asked the adjutant, when exactly is His Highness coming back to play horsey with me? I mean, to have dinner with me. The adjutant hesitated and stammered. On the first day, he said Xiao Chen was in the palace attending to the emperor and couldn't get away. On the second day, He said he was in a meeting with important ministers and still couldn't spare the time. On the third day, I didn't bother asking any more. I slung my sword over my back, grabbed my luggage, and headed for the door. If he's too busy to come see me, I'll go find him myself. But to my surprise, the adjutant's expression suddenly turned cold. Young lady, this isn't a market stall. You can't just come and go as you please. Is that so? We'll see if you can stop me. Before he could reply, I lashed out with a powerful kick, sending him flying several feet away, then spun around and rushed out the door. Stop her! The adjutant shouted in pain.